about preparing for a live action YouTube shoot. Just a little coverage video for people who are out there who are new. Um, and the reason I thought of it is because I'm actually doing that. If any of you have been checking out my channel, which I hope you will go down there and take a look at some of the content, you'll notice recently I've been creating a lot of video with artificial intelligence. And I had always talked about continuing to work with live actors. So had a bit of a struggle. I have a couple of series going right now here on my channel that feature live action actors, which I like to work with because I am a live action actor. And I think I started using, and honestly, I started using AI more. I wanted to discover it. I wanted to learn about it. I started talking about it here. And the best way to talk about it intelligently is to use it. So as you guys may have seen, there's still a lot of talk, hubbub, as they say, about artificial intelligence here on YouTube. YouTube is going all in with it. I've been using, and I've really been enjoying their YouTube Create. I think it's working with VO3, so you're able to create a lot of artificial intelligence video inside of that. And I found it really convenient to create little shorts, sit around, think of some idea. Like I was just working, right before I jumped on with you guys, I was working on some ideas for possible shorts for a character that I'm creating that I'm doing in this upcoming live video shoot. So it's kind of like a comedy parody therapy session, and it will be coming out soon. There's a preview episode on my channel. It's called Warning Signs. You can take a look at that. I released that about 2 days ago, and I'm getting a lot of hits on it, which I'm happy to say I am. But that gives you a little preview of what the show is going to be like. But it's going to feature exclusively, well, not completely exclusively, but mostly live actors. So something I've been really trying to get off the ground, and I came into a couple of actors who are very interested, very enthusiastic to join me and try to bring this series up and bring more comedy here to YouTube. That's what I've been trying to do ever since I started my journey towards monetization here on the channel. So was about to jump back out. I started talking about YouTube Create. Let's go back to that. I really like the app. I've been using it, and you'll find some of these little samples on my channel also, where I create little shorts with different characters, artificial intelligence generated characters. I write the scripts, I plan the whole thing out. Most of them are one-offs. Sometimes I have one that's a series of 3, and just have characters say little humorous, dark humorous kind of things, or talk about interesting issues. Some I have talking about interesting issues. I have one character who does a radio show. I have another character. It's all started with some characters doing stand-up. If you'll go on my channel, which you'll find at the link below, you will see a bunch of stand-up comedy that I've created. And one of the reasons I've done that, I've always been interested in trying to do stand-up, but never had the guts. That's the honest truth. I love to write material, and I never really performed it. I'm an actor myself. I've been an actor for over, excuse me, got some gnats flying around here. I've been an actor for over 35 years, a character actor. And did I ever play a stand-up character, a stand-up comic? No, never did. Played all kinds of characters, but I never played a stand-up comic. So with the advent of this artificial intelligence, I was able to put myself in as a stand-up comedian and some scenes, wrote the material, put myself in as a poet in some scenes. So it really gives you a chance to expand, into areas that you haven't really in reality been in. So I find that fascinating. That was one area of it that I found fascinating. A great way to, stretch your wings, as an actor or a writer, more a writer than an actor, because you're creating the content, you're creating what they say. I started thinking the other day when I was working on some artificial intelligence with these actors, the artificial intelligence actors, that it's kind of like a puppet show almost. And if you think about to the olden days when they had to travel in puppet show, AI is kind of like that. And that's how I've been using it. Putting the words, putting the scenarios, putting them into stories, and using them as the puppet. And I'm the one behind the scenes pulling the strings. So I kind of look at it that way. And I hope a lot of you out there who have been watching my content can actually see what I'm trying to do. I'm seriously trying to create content that somewhat entertaining. Um, Most of what I'm trying to do is comedy because that's a thing I see here on YouTube that has really been pushed to the back burner. And I want to bring that forward again because I think that was one of the wonderful things about YouTube when it first started. I've been on YouTube for over 20 years and I tell this story all the time and I'll tell it again right here. When I first started, and this was in the early days, I think YouTube had been going for about a year, a little bit less than a year, when I jumped on board. And I had been using it as a platform to market my video production business. So I had been shooting video for years. And so now I had a free platform where I could show samples of my work. And when any client said, oh, can you do this? Can you make me this? Can you make me that? I could put together a playlist or I could send individual links. I think at the beginning, I sent individual links to my potential clients and booked a lot of jobs, built my whole business. YouTube was kind of like the backbone of me building this business. Eventually, I moved over to Vimeo because I wanted something that was a little bit more closer to a white label. Only thing I didn't like about YouTube was that my clients would be distracted by other videos that would be, on the player, ads and all that kind of stuff playing within my videos. So I ultimately shifted away from using YouTube as my primary marketing tool. And about a year ago, I noticed that a lot of people were getting monetized and it was becoming really more high profile. I had noticed it, when it was really happening at the beginning, when a lot of people were getting big and actually making money. One thing that really was the hook for me, my nephew, he did about a year ago, a little over a year ago, he started one of those versions of a Pop the Balloon show and has been very successful, traveling all around the country. He's even planning to travel around to different countries to do his series, his comedy series, a dating series. So I started thinking, you know what? I've got all this video equipment, I've got almost 40 years of experience making videos and teaching video production. So I said, let me get on here and see if I can get monetized. So I've been on here about a year. I surpassed the subscriber goal point. And obviously I post tons of videos. But the thing that I'm still missing is I'm still missing building up those watch hours. So that's really my thing. A lot of what I do, I've kind of stayed away from teaching people how to make it on YouTube. That's something that I'm not really interested in doing. I'm not interested in going down that lane. I just want to do it. So that's what I'm doing. And it's taken more of a struggle. Now, with my video production background, I could easily probably have been monetized by now if I jumped on the bandwagon of teaching people how to be successful here on YouTube. So, but that's not the content I want to create. I want to create content that I'm interested in. And if you go to my channel, which you'll see the link down here below, and watch some of my playlists, you'll see the wide range of gamut of content that I've been creating. I mainly focus on acting, directing, and editing. Now, I know a lot of people say, pick one. No, that's not my bag to just pick one area and try to zoom in on that. I want to create content that I'm truly, honestly interested in. Things that I truly, honestly want to talk about, that I enjoy talking about. So that's where it comes in, acting, directing, and editing. Now, I branched out a little bit more, and some people are going to say, yeah, you talk about too much wide area. And that could be true. The algorithm might not be able to nail me down to one stream of where it should send me. So, but I'm going to keep on foraging on because actually my main goal here is not just talking about how to do my video production, because I want to actually do the video production and create content that people want to watch. So that's where I'm shifting my energy and starting out with humorous stuff. Normally, as an actor, I've been a SAG actor for, like I said, over 35 years, almost 40 years now. And I'm a character actor. Never made it to the big time. Dun, dun, dun. But that's it. I continue to work. Had some auditions last week. Actually, one audition wasn't that long ago, so I'm waiting to see if I'll get an email from my agent or manager saying, you booked another job. But that's how this business is. The majority of actors and actresses have other careers because the majority of them are not the A-listers. The majority of them are not even continuous everyday working actor. That was my goal, to be a, weekly, maybe a series regular, maybe a consistent actor who would leave one job and go to the next. But that's not the hand I was dealt. Interested in continuing my path along acting, which I'll never give up because I so much of my life chasing it. I will continue. I will continue to act, but I want to create content here, and that's one of the beauty of YouTube. That's the thing I think I really like the best about it, was because for years I made independent films, low budget independent films, what I used to call product films. I worked as a director and a writer for this was in the early days of VHS and then DVD. I worked as a director and writer for a bunch of small distributors here in Los Angeles. And I would get called in to write projects. I would get called in to direct. I would get called in maybe just to write the script, maybe to write and direct. Didn't really do much acting in B movies. I did a little bit at the beginning, but I really wasn't interested in acting in them. I was more interested in, creating them as what they used to call a work for hire. It was kind of like, so you guys will know what it was like. It was kind of like in the early days of VHS and DVD, like what we have now, that the vertical streaming boom, where people are actually putting up money to make these vertical movies on the rush, on the quick, on the low budget. And that's what we did. But we just made traditional it wasn't 16 by 9 then. It was 4:3 movies. We just made traditional movies for the video stores. And I even used to have my own term, shelf fillers, which we made a lot of them. And some of them were so bad, I don't even have my name on them. I don't even admit that I was involved with them because some of them are so low budget. But I really learned a lot. I enjoyed those days, but those days are over. And again, the vertical dramas, I don't know if this is going to pick up in the US. I was investigating a company last night who are currently seeking writers and directors and filmmakers to create some vertical dramas for their new platform they're creating. It sounded interesting. Maybe if I was 20 years younger, I probably would have jumped on it to give it a try. But those days of shooting content and hoping that someone likes it, and hoping that some gatekeeper picks it up, and hoping that it gets accepted into a festival, and then it gets into the festival, hoping that it wins a spot in the festival and people come to the screening, and hoping that a distributor will make some type of offer for me over. Those days are over for me. That's why I like what I'm doing here on YouTube. YouTube has its ups and downs, but if you can find an audience here on YouTube, if you can build an audience, you can create content without the gigantic gatekeepers keeping you down. There's a lot of people here on YouTube, obviously, that find their niche and they're successful. And I hope to join their ranks. I love the freedom. If you go to my channel, again, I keep pointing out my channel, you go there, check out some of my playlists. That's going to help me build up some of those watch hours that I'm struggling to build up. But you'll see all kinds of content. Educational, humor, experimental content you'll look at and say, why did he make this? Even I look back at some of it that I've made over this past, almost getting close to a year and a half. I'll look back and say, why did I make that? Why is that so bad? But I had started experimenting a lot with artificial intelligence video, not just making AI slop, as they call it, which I'm happy to say I'm starting to see a lot less of that here on YouTube. At the beginning, it was like ridiculous. People were just throwing up all kinds of crap. But I'm using AI now, and you'll see some videos on my website also talking about that, using AI as a tool. Like another tool to create more content. Like I use my word processor, my script writing software to write scripts. Like I use my color correcting tools to correct the video image. Like I use my sound sweetening tools to sweeten the sound. Like I use my Premiere Pro to cut the video together. It's just another tool. I know a lot of people are fearful that their jobs are going to disappear. And the truth of it is, yes, I'm not a Pollyanna. I know ultimately there will be job loss. And those people who are, you know, up on their game or sophisticated enough to continue to work will pivot. Will pivot into other career. Recently, about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago, I had to make a big pivot. I had lived my whole, I had lived my whole life after I got out of college creating video for independent businesses. That was my bread and butter. Uh, Still was an actor, but the actor wasn't a daily thing. The acting was very spread out, as they say in the acting business. You know, I'd work a great job. Maybe I'd work on a film for 6 weeks, or work on a film for 2 days, or work on a film for 3 weeks. And then I wouldn't have nothing for maybe 6 months. You know, you can't live like that. So video production for small businesses, nonprofits, for government, boring training, educational films, that was my bread and butter. But probably about 3 or 4 years ago, closer to 4 or 5 years, wow, time flies, I noticed those jobs disappearing. My independent jobs. My company is called On Web Television. You can look me up online, onwebtelevision.com, and you can see some of the stuff I've done in the past. A lot of stuff. And big clients. Some years I made lots of money, and some years were very lean. But as the business started drying up, I had to do a pivot. You know, I didn't sit back and say, boy, I wish they didn't invent those high quality cell phones and this cheap editing software and cheap lighting kits and cheap mic kits that anybody can use, because that's what happened to my business. The bar for creating high quality video dropped so low that some of my clients, a lot of my main clients, big money clients, could just get this secretary sitting at the front desk when the phones weren't ringing to shoot some informational videos with her iPhone that I would have normally been coming in there and creating the content for them, some educational videos, you know. And just look at the quality of this. I have right now I'm talking to you on a cheap Android cell phone. Phone probably cost me not even $200. And the voice is good, the picture is good. You could use this to train someone on how to do their job in an office setting. You're not trying to market it. You're not trying to sell it. You're not trying to distribute it. You're not trying to get it released anywhere. You're not trying to convince a gatekeeper that this is going to be the next Blair Witch. And people have even won contests with films, independent films, and this is all old stuff now, that they shot on their iPhone, Android phone. They've won contests. So my business model dried up, but I didn't just sit back and complain. At first I was pretty mad. Yeah, of course. I didn't want my business to change. I loved my business. I had it for over 30 years. I still have it, but I very rarely shoot for clients. I now pivoted to the internet. I am a webmaster. I create web content. I do all kind of video installation. I was on a big job a couple of years ago in Georgia for 2 years, where I set up the streaming system that they use for the city council, actually the commissioners, the board of commissioners. And so, you know, I've been doing all kinds of stuff like that. Still computer related, video related kind of stuff. But now a lot of my stuff is switching just to pure computer related stuff. Like right now, where I'm sitting right now, I'm working at this nonprofit agency here in California where I live, and I'm their IT guy, small nonprofit agency. I'm setting up their computer systems. I'm setting them up to onboard their employees, setting up the mail accounts, the Google Docs, all that Microsoft 365, all business type stuff. So my career pivoted. And that's what people are going to have to do with AI. I've been listening today. I listen to a lot of talk radio, and I've heard something that I knew, but I hadn't had any verification of it. A lot of young people in college. Some are actually leaving college and going to trade schools and getting careers that AI can't replace that easy. If you watch some of the videos online and some of the systems about the robots, it's definitely going to be, I can firmly say, it's definitely going to be 10, 20 years before physical robots will be able to replace mankind. So a lot of young people are going into trade programs, plumbing, electrical, HVC, all kinds of contracting work, heavy machinery drivers, stuff that you have to do physical work, and they make great money. There's always going to be a need for plumbers. There's always going to be need until, and I'm not saying that day won't come, the Terminator days won't come, where computers realize that we are the problem and we need to be eliminated. Ultimately, that's probably what's going to happen, but that's not happening no time soon. And you need, if you do a job and you're sitting behind a computer and you have a laptop and your whole job can be done right from that laptop. Maybe you need a pair of headphones and a microphone going around your mouth. If your whole job can be done that way, then most likely AI is coming for your job. I still don't think, and I could be wrong, obviously. I still don't think it's something that's going to happen within the next 10 years. Now, there are going to be reductions in employment. Companies are going to, even right now, companies let some people go. Now they're hiring people back. But there's going to be reductions. There's going to be reductions. I'm not going to lie about it. Obviously, it's true. I use artificial intelligence every day. Before I jumped on here to talk to you guys, I was just creating some graphic art for a YouTube thumbnail. I'm working on another little side idea for YouTube that I just thought of. And I said, let me throw a pilot together and blah, 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 blah. So I went on my favorite tool right now, still is ChatGPT, and I uploaded some photos and I gave it some direction and went back and forth. It collaborates with me. It works with me. It doesn't tell me what to do. It's sitting there waiting for me to tell it what to do. And it created some really high quality graphics. And I get its input. I look at it just the same way I used to work years and years ago during the VHS days. I had tried my hand at distribution. So I had to work with a graphic artist back then to create my box art. I had an idea for the poster, and before the graphic artist came in, I worked with a physical artist who painted. And he painted the concept art that I had in my mind, paid him for that. Then went to the graphic artist to do the box layout for the box printing. Had to take that to the printer. Now I just sat there about 15 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago and talked with ChatGPT. Myself and ChatGPT collaborated till I came up with a thumbnail and potential box art for another little YouTube idea I want to try out. So yes, graphic artists, designers for artwork, print work, writing. I just saw, and then this I can't believe. And I really didn't investigate it much, but I'm going to tell you what I remember from the ad. I just saw an ad for a new movie, and I can't remember what it was. It was a movie or a television series, and they promoted that the script was written by artificial intelligence. A name actress, I can't remember. If you do a Google search for the new film or television show that was currently released, that was written by AI, they were using AI as a tool. They were using AI to promote the film. They weren't trying to hide it. So the film or TV show. So I'm not sure what that was. And I know a lot of you have heard out here about the music artists who are getting deals. A guy just got arrested last week. He figured out a way to create tons and tons of songs, artificial intelligence generated songs. And he took those songs, and I haven't read the details about how he got arrested or what he did, but he was reselling them, and something about that was illegal. I don't know if that violated the copyright of the software that he was using to create it, but it was like he made, I don't know how many millions, but it was something exaggerated. I almost don't believe the story, but it's probably true. You could probably find that out online too if you really want to know the details. I'm just giving you these rumors, not rumors, but fragments of news that I heard. I listen to a lot of talk radio. But anyway, back to the point. Yes, artificial intelligence is going to make changes in the workplace, just like the printing press. Printing press made some big changes in the workplace. Any of you out there still remember the Xerox machine that got rid of a lot of typists who had to type stuff over? So, you know, the future marches on. Time marches on. We have to learn it, use it, or step aside. Or just like in my case, pivot to something else. A lot of the young people dropping out of college now and going to get jobs where they work with their hands. Jobs that can potentially lead to their own career of work that will be. I had some men, I'm getting old now. I had some men, we had a little problem at my home. We have a guest house in the back, and something happened to the sewer line. A tree root grew through the sewer line. Now, 30 years ago, I would have got out there with my pickaxe and my shovel and dug the hole myself, and then maybe called somebody. I had to hire, this is what I had to do. First of all, I had to hire a plumber to figure out a plumber with one of those rotoscopes that can go down into the sewer drain. I had to hire a plumber to find out where the leak was and what the problem was. So that was probably like, we ended up paying them like over $1,000. And then they wanted some exaggerated high fee to do everything else to fix the problem. But then my wife and I came up with the idea that we would become the contractors. So we've hired some people that had done gardening work at our home to dig the hole and uncover the pipe. Then we hired another plumber who was reasonable to come in and replace the pipe. Now, during the replacement, these are all physical jobs. No AI is going to do these jobs. And then during the plumber's work on the pipe, by mistake, which I didn't know either, it was his fault and my fault too. There was some electrical wires hidden underneath the hidden underneath the sewer pipe that goes to the guest house. And the pipe, the electrical wires were cut. And they tried their best to put them back together, but they couldn't because there was a lot of electrical wires. And so we had to call an electrician. Ended up paying him an extra $1,500 to figure out what wire went where and reconnect it. So he did that, and he did a great job, added some extra stuff around the house. And then finally, we got the pipe replaced by that plumber, and they fixed that up, and then we covered it all back up. AI can't do that. AI won't be able to do that. Again, I can confidently say, when I see those clumsy robots, and I see a lot of the events that Tesla has, where you'll see the robot and it looks like it's doing good stuff, but then right off camera, you got somebody with a joystick controlling the robot, remote control. That's not going to be able to hunt us down for a while. So again, AI is a tool. I'm not afraid of it, and you shouldn't be afraid of it. And I'm not just saying that, sitting here telling you that because people are going to have to get new jobs. People are going to have to do other kind of work. People are going to have to do things they don't want to do. They're going to have to take jobs they don't want to do. They're going to have to take jobs that are below them. And that's just life. That's just life. Everybody can't be the 1%ers or, start a company and become instantly overnight successful. Some people can. And people are going to start their own businesses. People are going to go work for other people. That's what you're going to have to do. We're adults. You got to take the real medicine. You might have to work at Target. You might have to work at Walmart until you can find something else. You might have to go to a restaurant. People do it all the time. Americans aren't used to that. We Americans aren't used to that. We want our cushy jobs where, and this is something that I love to say too, and I know people get mad at it, but I've been in corporate world. Right before I decided to go all in, which I'm doing now, with my independent work, and my business is pivoting. I'm starting to get the clients on the computer side. Like I said, I'm sitting in a place that I'm a consultant for right now, and I decided to do this video. And luckily for me, I'm lucky. Right before this, in my past, I had worked a lot when I was younger as a security officer. So I have an extensive background in private security. So about 3 years ago, I was hired to be a training manager for armed security officers. And that was my first move into management. And I liked it at first. I worked for a very large company out here in California that has a lot of big contracts, big major security company. And I was one of the training managers who trained the new officers, onboard them, bring them on, teach them the ropes about being an armed security officer. So I stayed there for about 6 or 7 months. But most of those jobs, and now this is the part that I'm going to say that a lot of people are going to get pissed off about. When people go to work for 8 hours a day, they're lucky. The employer, not the people. The employer is lucky if they do 4 hours of work a day, myself included. I was there for 8 hours a day and I had to slow down because I work fast. You see how I talk fast. I work fast and I get my work done. And the rest of the 4 hours, I was basically killing time because I have to work 8 hours a day. And I needed the money. I had good benefits. I'm lucky I'm in management. And a lot of the managers, a lot of you guys who are out there who mostly work at places where you do work, your manager doesn't really do much. The manager is there to make sure everybody stays in line, everybody gets what's done. And that's how businesses have to run. But especially in upper management and middle management, the company is lucky if they do 4 hours of work a day. And I'm being generous. I'm being generous. Over the years, I've been on a lot of jobs where you really don't work. You really don't do anything, especially if it's a big company. You get what you have to done. If you do what you have to do. If you get it done, you get it done. If you don't, you move it to the next day. Or maybe some days you'll work 4 hours straight, and then the rest of the week you really don't have nothing to do. You're just killing time. That's what happens when you get above that management level. I had a friend who, back in my video production days, she worked for a company that was one of our biggest clients, and she had a manager. He was hired by a college friend of the owner, and his job was to manage the whole Southern California region. And all he did was come in every day, close his door, and play video games on his computer. Now, if something happened, then he would go out there and try his best to solve it or try to organize it. But honestly, tell you the truth, that's what a lot of these upper management, these executives do. Some are up there because they know somebody, they got hired, there's a great term I love out now called failing up. You stay there long enough, you get promoted, you start to know people that promote you up. Because somebody's got to be on top. Someone's got to be the face. Someone's got to be the one that makes the final decision. And, sometimes the ones out there that can make those good final decisions and can network and get business and bring deals and make deals. You're not making deals, not making multi-million-dollar deals every day. You're not making mergers every day, but someone has to be at the top. But I'm just saying that to let you know, most people don't work that much in corporate America. But AI is not going to take their jobs. They're definitely not going to take upper management jobs because someone has to make the decisions. So a lot of the workers who will be ultimately replaced by artificial intelligence, yes, you're going to have to bite the bullet and find something else to do. It's just that simple. If you need to work, you need to take care of your family, you need to take care of your kids, you need to keep the lights on, as they say, you want to put food on your family, you're going to have to do work that you might not like to do. And again, I've been lucky because I've always been able to find some type of other revenue source to work at. It's been a struggle. It's not been easy, but that's how you keep going forward. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. I was supposed to only jump on here and talk for about 20 minutes. I went over time. But again, I'm trying to jump on every day. Just say hi, keep you guys up to date, keep me and my website. Go to my website, look at some of my playlists. I appreciate that. And it's going to help me get to those watch hours that I'm struggling to get to. So have a good evening. I'll try to jump on tomorrow or the next day. Good night.
Could you just scan these?
All right. You mean scan them or